Quick disclaimer, we are not investigative journalists. We simply read, watch, and listen to whatever we can to satisfy our curiosity while use this information to form our own personal opinions. Do not take this as investigative journalism. This is simply our own rabbit holes. Hey guys, and welcome to the Crime Cave, where we go down rabbit holes from documentaries, docuseries, and other true crime podcasts. Hey guys, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Victoria.
Welcome back to Crime and Chill. Victoria, how are you doing today?
Good, a little tired, but I'm all right. How are you?
Not bad. Kids are starting to go back to school, so I'm just living that chaos train.
Love the chaos. So, you got any weird or crazy shit for me today?
Well, I do. So, in honor of today's episode, which will air on Friday the 13th, I wanted to talk about Tupac. Do you know Tupac died on Friday the 13th after a couple days from where he was shot? Or supposedly shot?
I did not know that.
Yeah. So, Tupac Shakur's death date actually ends up on September 13th of 1996. So, that was my weird crime shit for today. And you can either believe he shot himself or someone shot him or he's not really dead. But either way, according to his life thingy on Wiki, he died on September the 13th.
Wow. You know, I love those theories of this person's not dead, like the Tupac sightings, Elvis sightings, and Michael Jackson. I live for that shit, and I think it's fucking great.
Me too. It's like, could they really be alive? But why would you get rid of all of your fame? Like, like if you were really dead, and I mean not really dead, would you really like just chuck your fame away? I don't know. Especially since he could still be so much fame. Like people still love him. So
especially like if he like came like let's go with the theory that Tupac is in fact not dead. Okay, let's start there. What if he came back and was like, hey guys, I was hiding because of gang related shit, but I'm back? That man would make a shit ton of money right now. It's so not even funny.
I know. I know. There's rumors or conspiracies that he's hiding in like Cuba or that he's being harbored by the government as a witness. Or what else have I heard? That he shot and like that he is actually dead, but he shot and killed himself. That's crazy. First of all, if he's in Cuba.
A friend that said that Kurt Cobain was not dead and he is in Mexico, and like firmly believes that. There's no question in her mind.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. But there's my crazy little did you know for Friday the 13th.
I love it.
I thought you would. I had another one, but I couldn't do two in a little period of time. So go look up crazy things that happen on Friday the 13th, people. You'll be mind blown.
I will do that tomorrow because I bet you I'm going to be entertained.
Oh, there's a case that actually happens on Friday the 13th that I totally plan on doing a deep dive in with you.
Oh, I'm so down. Let's do it.
Alrighty, so today we're going to talk about Aileen Wuornos, and we watched Mind of a Monster, Aileen Wuornos. Mind of a Monster is a series where each episode is a different killer. We may revisit these series in the future episodes, but right now we're only going to talk about Aileen's episode. This documentary aired in 2019, and it was telling Aileen's story from the letters she wrote to her friend Dawn and an outline of her life and crimes, which I think is so cool that her friend Dawn kept all of that.
Yeah, I was really, really into this doc. Like, loved it. So let's talk about her case a little bit. Aileen Wuornos was charged and convicted of 7 murders, all men, all shot with a .22 caliber weapon, which if you don't know, because I didn't know, when you hear people talking about calibers, it just means the size of the bullet, and .22 is like the smallest bullet out there. So maybe I'm just dumb, but I didn't know that. So there you go. There's your education. You got Friday the 13th education and you got gun education. You're welcome. Anyway, for all 7 murders, she was sentenced to death in each case. And this was just freaking crazy. What's up?
I was going to say, because you'd be killed multiple times. You can get sentenced to death more than once.
That's also the same thing. We're going to detour for a second. But the consecutive death sentence and consecutive life sentences, I do not understand.
I think it's just to make the victims' families feel like they've gotten justice, I guess.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know for real. I'll have to look that up.
Okay, so crazy set of cases here. So Eileen was a prostitute and worked the highways of Florida, which is where she met all 7 of the men she killed. And 6 of them picked her up because they were interested in sex. You know, like I said, she was a prostitute. And one just happened to be like this really nice guy. And in this doc, we do hear from his nephew, who talks about that his uncle would pick people up off the side of the road because he could like preach to them like he was a Christian. And I was like, that's really cute that he was so wholesome about it. Like, he didn't have, bad intentions. He was just trying to be nice to people. And I liked that. So he was just all around a nice guy. And I hate that he was caught up in this. At this time, Eileen was with a woman named Tyreka Moore. We might not be saying that correctly. We don't know. Words are hard. And Eileen seemed straight up obsessed with her. Like, this woman even admitted that Eileen would do anything for her.
And Eileen had a severe hatred for men. And in her case, it makes sense why she feels the way that she does. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Eileen ended up getting caught for these crimes because her and her girlfriend wrecked one of the vehicles, one of the victims' vehicles, and they were seen by people who lived in the area walking away. They described them to police, who had them do sketches on them. And once all these murders were connected, they started checking pawn shops for victims' belongings, which they did find, but the couple was a little smart and they used a former roommate's ID and name to pawn these things. In Florida, though, the pawn shops are required to leave a thumbprint, so the cops went and traced the ID back to the former roommate, and she was quickly able to prove that she had no involvement, but she did identify Eileen and the girlfriend from the sketches, which those sketches, I don't know how you could get a second woman out of that sketch, but, okay.
Yeah, you should, if you're listening, go look up the sketches because I don't understand how there was a full identity made, but
Yeah, I
whatever.
could see Eileen's identity. I just could not see,
Girlfriends.
yeah, whatever her name is. But we'll make
Just
sure
gonna
we
call her
post those.
girlfriend.
We'll call her girlfriend. We'll post those on Facebook and Instagram for you guys to check out those sketches.
So Eileen ended up seeing these sketches on the news, and she had her girlfriend call the girlfriend's parents. So girlfriend calls her parents, and the parents send her a bus ticket so she could go back to where they were and live there. Because Eileen didn't want her in trouble. She stayed adamant that she had nothing to do with it. So when Eileen was caught by the police later at a bar, the way they got the confession, because they really didn't have any evidence proving that Eileen did it, they pretty much got a confession out of her by having the girlfriend talk to her, and they recorded the phone calls and, in my opinion, kind of set her up to force a confession. And this just again shows that Eileen was going to protect her girlfriend at all costs. And ex-girlfriend then went on to testify against Eileen in the first murder trial. I do not know about the other 6. I know they did a trial for, I think it was 2 more, and then she pleaded no contest or something to the rest of them because she was just like, done, and this is bullshit.
Yeah, which after you get sentenced to death with one, why didn't you just let it go? Because you can't undo the death from the first one, so you're still going to be, sentenced to the death penalty. I don't know. All these murders were in different counties, and so there was different trials. They were only tried them one at a time. Eileen's defense was that she acted in self-defense and that these men were going to sexually assault her or did assault her. So, Victoria, how are we going to rate this doc?
Okay, listen. I loved this documentary so much. I loved the reading of the letters, like the dramatic reenactment of the letters. Also, I'm one of those sick people, and I freaking loved that they had crime scene photos. Like, bodies, faces were blurred out because respectful, but they had the pictures, and I freaking love that. Like, oh, it's great. So I'm actually, this might be the only time I do it, but this is a 20 out of 20 for me because I loved it so much. So, where are you at, Rachel?
Okay. So, there is a couple things that irked me about the private investigator that they allowed into the documentary. But I felt like this was Dawn's contribution to her friend, and allowing that private investigator to say the mean things about her all these years later, calling her fat and disgusting. And I understand you're a serial killer. Totally get that. But that just really irked me. That irked me. If I was Dawn and I watched the outcome of allowing them to see the letters that my best friend wrote me, I would be so upset by that. But yes, I liked that they had the reading of the letters. I like the crime scene photos. I like how they had her in court. I like how they showed her, like, her reaction when she got her first death penalty sentence. Like, not the sentence, but when she was found guilty. So all of that I loved. It was well put together. It was well written. It was just that little thing that really irked me. So it's going to get a 19 just because I felt like Dawn would not have been happy with that. And I didn't go to look to see her reaction on it or anything, but that just really, like, I understand she was a serial killer and she did these horrible things, but I also understand that she had a horrible life too, and it just rippled into all of these other families. And I don't know. I don't like to give serial killers the fame that they get.
Yeah, where it's always the killers get famous and then everybody forgets who the victims are. Nobody talks about them, right?
That really is just so sad too. It was just, this woman already had nobody that really was, everybody just always looked down upon her. She was always just scum. And then to leave that in that documentary, it just drilled it even deeper that she was just a scum. But yeah, so that's my thing. I'm thinking 19. It was well done. I did a good job.
I did. And just so you guys know, Dawn has been involved in a lot of the documentaries about Aileen. I went and I did watch a interview 60 Minutes did with Aileen, and Dawn was in that. And I was looking into other documentaries about Aileen just out of
Did
curiosity.
did you
And Dawn
watch
was
The
on all of them.
Monster?
No, I am not allowed to watch that movie according to my husband. I've heard it's
So
great though.
So I plan on watching it this weekend, even though we're going to be done talking about this case, just because, I mean, she's a female serial killer. Like,
She gets the
amazing.
label of being the first female serial killer, but I think
I
they
don't,
should change that
yeah, I think
because
they should change it too.
there was women serial killers. There was.
Yep.
But she was just, I feel like more of the modern era is how they need to change that.
So when I was in school, I took a psychology class that discussed her case. And I think she gets the title because of a lot of her story behind it. I don't know. But her psychology, like, information in psychology books about her, when you look at, like, serial killer psychology, it's just so interesting that you can't help but want to continue to read stuff about her, which stinks because, again, we're promoting the famousness of a serial killer. But oh my gosh, it's just so interesting. And I think, like, once we start talking about different points of it, see how interesting the psychology side of this case is.
So we're going to talk about Aileen for a little while because y'all seem to like it when we do it this way. If we talk about the doc for a little bit and then we talk about things. So you get our spew of consciousness, and you guys are so welcome because we're so awesome.
And we just like to do it because we're going to do it anyways.
Yeah, either way, we do it. We're recording it now. Okay, so her early life, let's talk about that. Her parents were alcoholics. I read her mom like divorced her Eileen's dad really like when they married young, first of all, and then Aileen was either before she was born or was very very young, divorced the dad, and the dad like died in jail.
He committed suicide.
Yeah, committed suicide. Wasn't he in there for unsavory things?
Mm-hmm.
So but then mom wasn't taking care of the kids. Mom was sick, mentally ill from my understanding,
And
also
drug
an
addict.
alcoholic and a drug addict. So grandma took the kids. She took Aileen and her brother, and they raised them. So grandma and grandpa raised them. I've also seen reports that grandma and grandpa were also alcoholics. But grandma apparently was great and really good to Aileen, and Aileen really loved her grandma. And I'm glad she had at least one semi-healthy relationship in her life. Which also a little bit of other information for you. Aileen was adopted as an adult, if you did not know that, while she was in jail, because this woman said she wanted her to have a healthy mother figure. So if you did not know that, Rachel, Aileen was adopted as an adult.
Well, I'm glad someone reached out for her.
And I saw the lady, and it's I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of weird. Guys, if you look it up, it's the 60 Minutes
I saw parts of it.
video. It's crazy. But the grandpa was abusive. And unfortunately, Aileen was sexually assaulted when she was 12. There was a man in the neighborhood that was like 50s, 60s. His wife was dead, and the kids would go over there to like party and get drunk. And Aileen passed out there one night, and the man raped her, and it did result in a pregnancy for her, which is awful and sick and horrendous.
Not only is it awful, sick, and horrendous, but then she goes through the entire pregnancy, gives birth to this baby boy, names him, but never gets to hold him. Even though that baby came out of rape, as a mom, to never get to see the birth of, what you birthed, you went through all of that trauma to get to that point. That's just so sad. And to go home and to deal with the recovery, but not have any kind of resolution besides that the baby came out, baby went somewhere else, nothing. Especially at 12, like
Yeah, that's
such a
so freaking
sad.
young.
Yeah, and so she has this baby and then has to go back to grandma's house and deal with her grandfather's abusiveness. So that just breaks my heart. I
It's awful.
12 years old having a
I
baby. Like
I can't even
that girl should have had some hardcore therapy.
Yup. Her grandpa did kick her out when she was like, what, 14, 15, they said?
Yeah, so she was like about 14 and was living in the woods.
And this is where the prostitution started. She was, turning tricks for food,
And
cigarettes,
cigarettes.
somewhere to stay, that's where it
And they were
started for
I
her.
mean, there was sexual assaults then too that, they wouldn't pay or she wouldn't consent to it and they would take it anyways.
Which is, yeah,
Disgusting.
don't rape people, don't assault people,
Like there's
don't
plenty
do
of
it.
women in this world. I'm sure one of them will give it to you willingly.
Yeah, at least one. Just, don't be a creeper.
Think
It's
about the
not that hard.
fallout. Not only that incident's gonna carry for a very long time, and it could trickle into other people's lives. Now, it may not end up in murder like Eileen took it to, but you're not only hurting that person that you're doing it to it there. Imagine you were everybody else in the circle of that woman's life and everybody she comes in contact to, how much more damage you're causing, even if you don't like that person. You may like somebody that she causes damage to.
But to wrap up the thoughts on the early life and her childhood, tragic. I really wish she would have been able to have some therapy or some sort of adult figure in her life that she could have felt trusted, because her grandmother did pass away before the grandpa kicked her out, and I feel like that's where she lost the one adult she felt like she could trust in her life. So
Yeah,
I just think it's awful.
me too. Alrighty. So, once she is kicked out and she decides to leave her home state of Michigan, Eileen decides that she's going to go to Florida, which, every crazy case comes out of Florida. I don't understand it.
Florida man.
Florida. I don't get it. But she claims that she murders these men because they are sexually assaulting her. Do you think this is true?
Here's what I think. I think that the first man did sexually assault her, because it was later came out that he was convicted of rape. Wholeheartedly believe that the first one was 100% assault. It happened. And I think that because of her past, unfortunately, that set something off in her. And that's when she started killing people. Because she did say, they did talk about it in the doc we watched, that the man that was not looking for a prostitute, that he didn't do anything to her. She said that he didn't do anything to her. So
Yeah.
I'm on the thing of the first guy did it and it just started a ripple effect. Where do you stand on that?
Okay. So, I do think the first guy did assault her. Wonder if it was actually on the occasion that she kills him, but I do think he did assault her. The only reason I don't think all of them assaulted her is because of Peter. He is the man who is just a genuinely good guy and wants to help. You don't go through 5 other or 6 other men who are assaulting you, and this one guy that doesn't, you just kill him too. So I think
Yeah.
it was just at that point she didn't care. She was like, whatever, let's just see how many I can get through.
And this is where it gets in. This is one thing that I was thinking about with this is, like we said earlier, she was killing people with a 22. And like the 22 caliber, it can be like any kind of gun. But in this case, it was a small handgun. Realistically, unless you are a very good shot and you hit somebody in the head or the heart, apparently, you're not going to automatically kill them. So that's why I don't think she really went out with the intentions at first of killing anybody. And then just since she had been using the 22, she just continued. So I just think that that was there for her protection, and that's just interesting little thought, because I don't think you're going to go out with the smallest kind of weapon ever. That's going to take a lot of shots to kill somebody and go out killing.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think a lot of women though carry a 22 because of the ease of use.
Yes.
So if she went into a place to purchase a gun as a woman, I think the clerk would have automatically went towards the 22. And I think maybe she didn't know any better about the weapon. Because there are several of the murder victims that are shot multiple, I mean, like rage amounts of times. But I don't think it's so much as rage, but I think she learned quickly that the 1 or 2 bullets wasn't gonna be enough. Or she knew about guns and I'm just reading
And
into
we're
something I
wrong.
shouldn't read. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Girlfriend. I have thoughts about Girlfriend.
Yeah, I don't like Girlfriend.
I do not like Girlfriend. So Girlfriend admits that Eileen confessed to her the first murder. If my
Why
husband
wasn't
walked
she
in the door,
charged with accessory after the fact?
right,
She
but
knew.
also in that car, Peter's car that was
Yeah,
crashed.
exactly. How did
But
she not get charged?
so if my husband walked in and said, "Oh, I killed somebody. I'm sorry." No, no, no. We go into the cops. I'm not going down for
No, no,
that
no.
shit.
If either one of our husbands said they kill somebody though, I would sit there and laugh because I would be like, "Oh yeah, right." Like they would know better than to tell us, for one.
Yeah.
For
Don't tell me
2,
anything. I can't lie. Don't do that.
yeah, for 2, I just don't see them having the
I don't
balls to
either.
do that. Like, I love them both dearly, they're great guys, but I just don't see either one of them having the balls to do that. So, but,
My husband
also
listens to this podcast, so hi, honey.
I mean, so but also we probably wouldn't have married them if we thought they were capable of murder, so that's a whole 'nother topic. But yeah, I don't like Girlfriend. Girlfriend seems like conniving. She used Eileen because Eileen was doing the murders to get the cars, money, drugs, tools, whatever they were pawning, and didn't care about the outcome because she knew that Eileen wouldn't let her take the fall.
Yeah, and I think that she also stated, Girlfriend said that she didn't want Eileen prostituting anymore and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, if you didn't want your girlfriend prostituting, I'm pretty sure you could have fixed that problem. So
Like,
don't sit here and tell me like she just did it because she wanted to. I don't think so. I don't
yeah.
believe you. I know there's some people out there that do enjoy doing that work, and more power to you.
I actually
Make
just
good
watched
money,
a TikTok
girlfriend.
about a woman that she loved it.
More power to you. And you know what? Make that back, girlfriend. I'm all for it. I am all for empowerment and loving your body and choosing to do what you want to do with your body. But I do not believe for a second that there was a huge argument about them doing this. I do not believe for a second that she was not at least in that girlfriend was not at least involved in the pawning of things. If she was obviously involved.
Didn't the pawn shop say that 2 women came in? So she
Yes,
was
they were
there when things
clients.
were pawned.
So I don't understand why she was not charged with anything. She should have been. And unfortunately, the police used her to get the confession they needed out of Eileen because they knew based on the evidence they had alone, they couldn't prove that she actually murdered them. They could just get her on stolen property at that point.
But okay, so they said they couldn't prove, but she had to have left fingerprints in these cars. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So the cars there, let's say just for the first case, the car's there, the body's just a couple feet away. Eileen's fingerprints are in the car.
and
Hello?
how
Doesn't
they
take a
get
rocket
arrested.
scientist.
That's how they linked that fingerprint to her from the pawn shop was because she had been arrested and her prints were on file.
The whole thing is just suspicious.
Yeah.
But
Let's take
yeah,
that into
so
our police and lawyers conversation, Rachel.
police and lawyers. Okay, let's go back to that private investigator that should have got a freaking Emmy in his arrest. Okay, like did you catch that little clip where she's getting arrested and he keeps on the show and he puts on a show?
Because they were in the back of the cop car together and he's still like, what the hell's going on, man?
I
Sir,
know.
you
I like
deserve
that.
an award. You are fantastic at your job.
Yeah, so for that part, but he's also the same investigator that was just talking dirty about her. So, but still, I just can't. I just thought that was hilarious.
Yeah,
Um,
it was great. So good job to you for being good at your job, sir.
you may be talking to a private investigator. We
You
don't know
never
for
know.
sure. Don't know for sure. And the lawyer that is in the what's that called? In the documentary, he truly believed in Eileen, but he didn't have the experience that was needed to defend her.
Yeah, I agree. He did wholeheartedly believe her story about what had happened, and he was willing to like fight that point, and he did. He continuously fought that point, and then where I get sad is when she did like end up firing her whole defense team and then went with this public defender, which if you watch the 60-minute interview, he's crazy, and I don't understand how he's a lawyer, let alone a public defender.
His phone number used to be Dr. Legal.
Wait, did it really?
Yeah. And he would play like the Beatles song Help as his hold music for the law office. Like the yeah, you really need to look into a public defender. He was a complete and utter reject. But yeah,
I love that.
that's
So
almost as
yeah,
good as the marijuana defense attorney in South Carolina. I can't remember his name right now. But anyways, Dr. Legal was his phone number.
that's insane. But yeah, he got like they talked to him in the 60 minutes thing and they were talking about like, shouldn't you be trying to keep her and get her off death row? And he's like, she wants to be there. And I'm like, sir.
Who wants to be on death row? Like your job is to not keep her there. Why would she have had a public defender to try to get her off death row if she wanted to be there?
I mean, apparently she was actually pretty decently happy in her years there, which I'm happy that she found some happiness.
Probably because she had a
You know,
community of other women who were through trauma.
ooh, good point.
But still,
Yeah,
doesn't make it
well,
okay that she sat there and died there. But I mean, it
she
doesn't
was
make it okay what she
47
did
years old
either.
when she died. She was
Yeah, I know.
47 years old. That's
That's young.
young.
I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna say that was old. I'm about to be like, boo, that's only 10 years from me.
No, that is very young to be put to the death penalty. And she got the choice of what she wanted to do, apparently. Either electric chair or lethal injection, and she chose lethal injection, and I do not blame her one bit because I would also
Okay,
choose if they gave me that choice.
I was about to ask you what would you have chose, and I would have chose the same thing. Electric chair sounds so terrifying. Like,
It sounds like it would actually hurt versus lethal injection. It kind of seems like you just go to sleep and it doesn't actually hurt, and I don't want it to hurt.
yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to go be sentenced to death,
I
but
mean, I don't either, but
yeah, I agree.
if I
I
have to
totally
pick.
agree. Yep, I agree. Totally needs to just put me to sleep, go quietly. She's
I
also one of the cases where I feel like she only murdered men, okay? She wasn't murdering women. Why couldn't she be sentenced to like life in prison instead of sentenced to death? She wasn't a threat to everyone else in that facility.
I mean, you're right, but I don't know if because didn't they get her on like first degree murder? Because first degree is where you like planned it, apparently, right?
Yeah, first degree is where you planned it. Second degree is like heat of the moment, and then manslaughter is like on accident, but you still did it.
Yeah, so she was charged with first degree, so they decided that she planned all of this. So I
Which
guess
do you
maybe
really
that's
think
the
she
difference.
planned her victim? Like you can't plan people who are driving down the road. You know what I mean?
I think their thing was she might not have picked who she was going to kill, but she
But
got
she
in the
knew she
car
was
with
gonna.
the intention
Yeah,
to kill.
yeah. I just
Which,
still
I'm we're both kind of
kind of
theory on that.
borderline there. Kind of borderline. Ye
Yeah.
That's like pushing that whole I don't know. I just don't s yeah. It's very interesting. It wasn't it Peter's body that was never found?
Yeah, Peter was the only body never found. Everybody else's they found, and I do not understand why.
So,
Because
I don't there's several things about Peter that he's breaks my heart the most
mhm,
because his nephew that's in this documentary is so forgiving to Eileen.
I know. I saw that and I'm
Like,
like, "Oh my god."
they end the documentary with his nephew, or like around the end, talking about how he hopes that she rests in peace and that he knows that the first person she met in heaven was his uncle because that's just the kind of person his uncle was. And that just I
I
really
got goosebumps.
did she really kill him? Because why wouldn't she have ever told where his body was? Like she was gonna die anyways. Why didn't she tell anybody?
Yeah, and then all the other bodies were seemingly in like close
Open.
vicinity to the car.
Yeah. Why did she have this car out joyriding with
Yeah, this
girlfriend Skanky Ho in it? Unless maybe girlfriend Skanky Ho decided she wanted to take up this hobby of killing people too, and that's why Eileen doesn't know where the body is because she didn't do this one.
ooh, I like that theory.
Either way, the other family members, I'm sure their loved ones was just as important to them, but just the way that Peter's nephew talks about him, oh,
Yeah.
he was just
And this is just the one where I like you said, they probably were all important, but this is the one that we got to see from the family how important he really was. And
yeah,
yeah, that was a
and I
lot more
really
hard.
wish they would have found his body just for that family's closure.
And I mean, let's be honest, it's Florida. They might not ever find that body.
An alligator could have ate it.
So I think it's very obvious already, if you haven't figured it out, that she has mental health issues. 100% has mental health issues. And when they're reading off these letters and she talks about like Satan and Lucifer himself in the form of these men, that leads me to believe she's like actually like had a psychotic break and is legitimately psychotic, not just like schizophrenic, not just, no, literally psychotic. And I really, really wish, because I don't think they ever fully did, they should have made sure she was mentally competent in order to make those decisions to kill somebody and it wasn't like a mental health thing.
Yes. And I honestly, I went looking for that psychology book. It was a crimeology psychologist. I don't know what it was. Anyways, I went looking for that book, to pull up the little section on Eileen Wuornos, but I can't find it anywhere. But her mental health was so distorted. Like she didn't have any kind of like internal morals. It was like they were all gone. You know what I like, does that sound right? Those internal morals? What are
Yeah.
they? Integrity. Integrity.
So I'm going to post this link in the description because I just looked this up while sitting here. That at the trial, the defense presented of Wuornos's diagnosis of borderline personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder, and the state expert agreed with the borderline personality disorder diagnosis. So there's that. So I will be sure to post that with the thing because I was curious if that was actually talked about. So apparently she was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder.
Do you think if Eileen was born into a different family, do you think she still would have committed the crimes that she did? And do you think she would have had the personality disorder that she had?
Um, so I think there would have still been a mental health issue because back at this point, again, this when the crimes took place, it was the late 80s, early 90s. At that time, and so before that, like mental illness was not like a thing. They didn't talk about it, it wasn't treated, all that stuff. So I think she still would have had these issues, but I don't think she would have committed murder. Where do you stand? What do you think?
So do you think so I guess my real question was, do you think borderline personality disorders could have been due to the trauma that she received throughout her life? So I don't think, okay, and this is just my personal opinion about borderline personality disorders. Some of the cases that are recognized, not all, not, I'm not saying just treatment, I'm just saying some that are recognized. I personally wonder if it has any correlation to the environment that you are in. Um, like bipolar, you can develop bipolar from a trauma. PTSD, you can develop because, well, I mean, obviously you developed that because of a trauma. So I was just wondering if you think that she would still have this disorder if she had different parents.
Like, let's cut out like all the trauma, all of it. Then
Right.
I
Born
think
into a perfect family.
I think there might have been some mental health issues. I don't think it would have been as extreme because, like you said, trauma does tend to make it worse or bring about a mental health issue. But I also think if you're going to have mental health problems, regardless of if you're in a picture perfect family or you grew up with trauma and abuse, you're going to have mental health issues if that's what your brain does. That's just my thoughts on it. What do you think?
Um, I think some people are more susceptible to mental health issues, but I think certain mental health issues are nurtured in the environment that you lived in.
Yeah, I think I agree that certain things make it worse, trauma makes it worse, and that's just how it works. But we do know that a lot of mental illness is simply a chemical imbalance in your brain. So some people just their brains don't work right. It's okay. Mine doesn't work right. I have him
Actually,
as my
all right. So if you Google borderline personality disorder and pull up, the little information about this mental health illness, it does say that the cause of borderline personality disorder isn't well understood and diagnosis is made on a base of symptoms. So they don't even know why you get it. Interesting.
weird.
And it can last for a couple of years or a lifetime. Like, it doesn't have to be permanent either.
That's insane.
Yep, pretty interesting. I don't know if it comes from NAMI. It's a condition characterized by difficulties regulating emotion. I don't know. I really wonder if she would have been the same person if she didn't have all those well, I mean, obviously she wouldn't have been the same person if she didn't have all those traumas,
Right.
but I don't I'm a firm believer in nature versus nurture type of thing. Like, I really do believe that most of the time, not all of the time, because there are people who are born just psychotic, and that might not be the right word for it, but you know what I mean.
Mhm.
That what the environment that you're raised in is hard to overcome when it comes to how you live the rest of your life. So that's just me. I feel bad for her. I mean, I feel bad for the people she killed too, but
Guys, if you go look up Carnival by Natalie Merchant, that was the song that Eileen requested to have played at her funeral, and in another documentary that was done, that is the song in the end credits. It was her, like, one of her favorite songs. She listened to this person's album called Tiger Lily on repeat. If you go to the video, especially like a specific like lyric video, and you read the comments, it is overwhelming how many people are in that comments in support of Eileen. Like, I did not expect that in the comments. I just read comments on videos sometimes out of curiosity, but I was not expecting there to be like a shit ton of comments in support of Eileen.
I wonder if it's in support of Eileen or in support of people like Eileen. You know what I mean? Like, she represented this entire world of women that are constantly treated like shit and then expected to just deal with it, and Eileen didn't. You know what I mean? Like, men treat me like shit, I'm gonna start treating men like shit.
Yeah, that was kind of like one of the common trend in the comments that I was
Oh,
reading.
really?
Yeah, was they were like, they felt bad because she was not understood, and they were like, "Yeah, we understand you now, girl." I still don't stand up. I'm not in support of murdering anybody,
No, don't murder people. Even
but
if
I
that
am all here for you being a bad bitch and standing up for yourself.
Yes, even if that person in your whole heart of hearts you think doesn't deserve to breathe, you know what I mean? But that person is a family member who does deserve to breathe. And when you take that person away, you're taking a piece of that family member who does deserve to be there. Like always, when we deal with mental health cases, please get help. Somebody
Yeah.
cares about you to get help. And somebody
And jump
cares
in our
about the person you
inbox,
hurt.
man. We'll talk
Yeah.
to you.
Oh, yeah. No problem. Not a problem at all.
Like,
We'll
one
sit
of us
there
is always
and
going to be around.
woe your woes together, and we will find you whatever we can to help you. But it is not worth it. And it's not fair to the people who have done nothing to you. Like,
Mhm.
like, if you're going to go out and murder somebody to get your revenge, what did the person's mother do to you? What did that person's child do to you? Brother and sister? Nothing. They can't help their loved one's actions, but they still love that loved one all the same. Just like Dawn still loved Eileen, even though she had done all of these horrible things, Eileen
Still
still had Dawn. That's just my TED talk for the day. Whoever you're murdering their loved ones who had nothing to do with what you were upset about.
boom, truth bomb from Rachel.
There's my TED talk.
So, Eileen Wuornos was executed on October 9th of 2002. She was killed by lethal injection. I think we did mention that part earlier. So she was on death row for a hot minute.
10 years.
10 years of sitting on death row. What the fuck?
I
Like, what?
mean,
Think about that. You're sitting there for 10 years knowing at some point you're going to die. Not just like, from natural causes of being a
okay.
person. No, they're going to kill you.
Okay, so this is my thought about that. I would rather they put somebody on death row and exhaust all appeals. Take as long as you need to prove that that person actually deserves to be there. Because what if you jumped the gun and sentenced to did the deed, they accomplished whatever you wanted, but that person didn't actually kill anybody?
Mm-hmm.
So
So
10
I
years
just
doesn't
feel
feel like a very long time. How did you
no.
come to the conclusion then that in 10 years this is what we're going to do?
I mean, I'm from my understanding, she stopped appealing. Like she didn't care anymore. She was just done with it because if you guys watch anything about her, you're gonna see she's a firecracker in the courtroom. She said some nasty things that I understand
Yeah,
she was mad that she shouldn't have said.
she wished the jurors were raped.
She wished their children would be raped. So,
Oh,
like I said, she was mad, obviously very mentally ill. You know, we don't wish things on people. That's not a good look, guys. Even if you're mad, you know.
back to Rachel's TED Talk.
All right, guys, that's all for this week's episode. Thanks for listening to us. And remember to find us on social media and join our Facebook group, Crime and Show Fam, to join in on the conversation and leave your requests for future episodes. Bye.